Well, hello there. This is Brian, the King of Iceland. I just wanted to read this book, Esperanto, the Universal Language. This is part two. Please subscribe over here and find my episode one for the description of Esperanto. Where I left off was to the following gentlemen. I return my best thanks for their exceeding great kindness and cordial cooperation. Monsieur L. D. Beaufort, President of the Committee of Direction, Directu, let's see here, in France, who has written the Conversations, etc. in Section 2, the Honorable R. H. Giorgio, to Gregor Hagen, to whom in great measure I am indebted for his chapter of the participle. Mr. Joseph Rhodes, FJS, President of the Esperanto Society. Kegley Yorks, the first society established for the study of the language in England, who, despite his many literary duties, has given me valuable assistance in revisiting this new edition. To Monsieur P. Alberg, President of the Esperanto Society, Stockholm, to whom I am indebted for the greater number of the commercial letters in Section 3, and to Mr. Charles Hayes Wandsworth, who also has given me valuable assistance in preparation this grammar for publication. There's only 18 rules of grammar. That are very pretty easy to learn, most of them. There's some unofficial rules, unofficial prefixes and suffixes. There's prefixes and suffixes and the root words, and you move them, and this makes it. Well, let's see what Dr. Oh, and this is signed by J.C. O'Connor, M.A. That was the preface to this lost book. If the reader should take up this little work with an incredulous smile, supposing that he is about to pressure the impracticable schemes of some good citizens of Utopia, I would in the first place beg of him to lay aside all prejudice and treat seriously and critically the question brought before him. I need not here point out the considerable importance to humanity of an international language, a language unconditionally accepted by everyone, and the common property of the whole world. How much time and labor we spend in learning foreign languages, and yet when traveling in foreign languages, we are, as a rule, unable to converse with other human beings in their own language. There's something called Pasporto Servo. If you know Esperanto, you can actually travel the world and stay in Esperantist houses as you do that. How much time, labor, and money are wasted in translating the literary productions of one nation into the language of another, meaning, keep in mind, meaning French. And yet, if we rely on translations alone, we can become acquainted with but a tithe of foreign literature. Were there but an international language, all translations would be made into it alone, as into a tongue intelligible to all, and works of an international character would be written in the first instance. The Chinese wall dividing literatures would disappear, and the works of other nations would be as readily intelligible to us as those of our own authors. Books being the same for everyone, education, ideals, convictions, aims would be the same too, and all nations would be united in a common brotherhood. Being compelled, as we are now, to devote our time to the study of several different languages, we cannot study any of them sufficiently well, and there are but few persons who can even boast a complete mastery of their mother tongue. On the other hand, languages cannot progress toward perfection, and we are often obliged, even speaking our own languages, to borrow words and expressions from foreigners, or to express our thoughts inexactly. How different would the case be had we but two languages to learn? We should know them infinitely better, and the languages themselves would grow richer and reach a higher degree of perfection than is found in any of those now existing. And yet, though language is the prime motor of civilization, and to it alone we owe the fact that we have raised ourselves above the level of other animals, Difference of speech is a cause of antipathy, and nay, even of hatred between people, as being the first thing to strike us on meeting. Not being understood, we keep aloof, and the first notion that occurs to our minds is not to find out whether the others are of our own political opinions or whence their ancestors came from thousands of years ago, but to dislike the strange sound of their language but to dislike the strange sound of their language. Moreover, anyone who has lived for a length of time in a commercial city whose inhabitants were different, unfriendly nations will easily understand what a boon would be conferred on mankind by the adoption of an international idiom, which, without interfering with domestic affairs or the private life of nations, would play the part of an official and commercial dialect. At any rate, in countries inhabited by people of different nationalities. I will not expatiate on the immense importance which it may well be imagined on an international language would require in science, commerce, etc. Whoever has but once bestowed a thought on the subject will surely acknowledge that no sacrifice would be too great if by it we could obtain a universal tongue. It is therefore imperative that the slightest effort in that direction should be attended to. The best years of my life have been devoted to this momentous cause. I shall not here enter upon an analysis of the various attempts already made to give the public a universal language, but will content myself with remarking that these efforts have amounted either to a short system of mutually intelligible signs or to a natural simplification of the grammar of existing modern languages, with a change of their words into others arbitrarily formed. The attempts of the first category were quickly seen to be too complicated for practical use, and so faded into oblivion. Those of the second were perhaps entitled to the name of languages, but certainly not international languages. The inventors called their tongues universal. I know not why, possibly because no one in the whole world except themselves could understand a single word written or spoken in any of them. So they were creating languages before Zamenhof, but they weren't international like this. Esperanto is unique. It's very simple. All you need is is to know the grammar and a few root words and the prefixes and suffixes. It takes about 3 weeks to learn. In Duolingo, you can do the Duolingo, Lingo. It's an app. It's free. You can premium it, and they're on the stock market. So it's pretty cool. The guy that invented CAPTCHA invented Duolingo. If a language, in order to become universal, has but to be named so, then forsooth, the wish of any single individual can frame out of any existing dialect or universal tongue, as these authors naively imagined that their essays would be enthusiastically welcomed and taken up by the whole world, and as this unanimous welcome is precisely what the cold and indifferent world declines to give. When there is no chance of realizing any immediate benefit, it is not much to be marveled at if these brilliant attempts came to nothing. So I'm going to stop there because it's 9 minutes, but I started doing a live on Sunday at 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time to see how I worship. It's at the Krishna Temple in Utah County, Utah. You can listen to the radio at 1480 a.m. It's cool. That's why I have the sadhu sacred clay on my forehead, if you didn't know. Anyways, peace be with you, and Hare Krishna.